hearings for special use permits pertaining to the marijuana business in the following order. But before that, we will be taking a break at 5 p.m. till 6 p.m. for dinner. So, I will open the meeting. Public hearing for Fresh Coast Provisioning LLC, 28 Arthur Street.
So I'd like to start the presentations by saying that all of the presentations we'll be reviewing tonight have been accepted and approved. Anything that's been submitted after that will be subject to another review. For this specific plan and the next one, we have accepted and approved the plans that we're about to review, though there's been another submission in the last day that we haven't had a time to review it yet. So that being said, the plans we're going to review meet our approval, and we've made some recommendations that we'll go through after the initial presentation, but after that, they have another presentation of their different their revised plans. There's also another presentation. So the plan we'll be reviewing has been accepted, and it's not it's the second plan has all the recommendations made that we were about to review. So does that make sense? Okay.
Wait, could I ask a question then? So he's gonna present today, and then he's gonna go, and then he's gonna come back again another month and show the reviewed plans?
So tonight we'll be looking over this plan, and then we'll have enough time after this week to delve into the new submission plan, which will be have all the recommendations or something that we've
Right.
given.
Recommended.
So we can only review the plan that was accepted.
Right.
They have since revised their plan to meet some of the comments that we have made. That is what they're presenting today. However, we can only approve what they have submitted. They resubmitted. However, if they were to do that, we would have to not allow them to present today, which we did not want to do. So if you see things within their presentation that differ from what is in the plan, make sure that you make and notate it as things that you would like to see in issuing the special use permit. Does that make sense? Okay.
Sure.
Apologize for the confusion there. We did just bring additional site plans that incorporated all of the recommendations that staff had suggested. So, do we have
Laser pointer?
the PowerPoint?
Yeah, the plans that we're reviewing are the ones that have been accepted right here, and the PowerPoint will be after that, I guess. So we can give the recommendations for the plan that's been approved, and then we can do the PowerPoint. Is that what we're thinking then?
That'll be fine.
Okay.
Well, how about we start with the presentation then, and then we can click back to these site plans. Would that be acceptable for you?
I don't, these have already been approved and submitted, so we're gonna use these as what's gonna be presented upon. So, yep, so, I'll give my recommendations for this plan, that has been approved, and then we can go over the plan that you resubmitted, I guess.
That's one that's in the PowerPoint.
So the one in the PowerPoint is, just so we're clear, is the plan that is accepted. We have to review that plan,
Yeah.
even though revisions have been made.
Right.
I think it's appropriate to go over the plan that's been accepted,
Okay.
as opposed to one that has not been accepted by the planning department with the revisions in it. Because if not, you guys would not be presenting today.
Fantastic.
Want your view, go to full screen.
Okay.
Sorry for the confusion. Literally, it was like yesterday or the day before that we received this, and it kind of threw a wrench in the presentation. So we reviewed the initial plan and made the recommendations that removing the overhead canopy to introduce new lighting that's not attached to the existing canopy, add rain gardens along the east side of the parcel, close south curb cut, connect the parcel to the parcel directly north along US 31, reconfigure the dumpster to behind the building, and then the fire department has stipulated for all of these plans that fire suppression systems are required for special use granting. The Department of Public Works has no recommendations beyond what the planning department has recommended for this site. So I guess now we will go to the PowerPoint that has been.
One side note, each applicant or presenter has 15 to 20 minutes. with questions to follow, so,
Thank you.
okay? And if you could, when you present, name, please,
Yeah,
and company,
certainly.
just for record.
And name and,
Company,
oh, company, certainly, yeah.
thank you.
So, thank you, planning commissioners, thank you staff, thank you citizens
Fresh Coast,
for
okay.
inviting us to your beautiful community today to present. My name is Nick Piedmont. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Fresh Coast Provisioning LLC. We're based out of Traverse City. Our hometown in some respects is the jumping off point for northern Michigan's Fresh Coast. And we have a profound appreciation for the wealth of natural resources and unique communities that compose our region. Being that our brand is focused on our Fresh Coast, we're very interested in development opportunities right here in Manistee. Could I get the second slide, please? Thank you. With today's presentation, we intend on illustrating more about ourselves as developers, about our proposed projects at 28 and 32 Arthur Street, and about the unique value that we feel we can achieve in cooperation with the city of Manistee. We also understand that this commission has a very long evening in front of it this evening. So where we're able, we've taken the liberty of consolidating our two presentations into one presentation. Our company, Fresh Coast Provisioning LLC, at its core is a family business. My brother, Eric Piedmont, is our Chief Operations Officer. My cousin, Brian Piedmont, is our Vice President of Retail. Eric's father-in-law, Bill Marchito, a retired food manufacturing CEO, is a silent partner. The four of us together, comprising Fresh Coast Provisioning LLC, have endured the lengthy and thorough state pre-qualification process to operate medical marijuana provisioning centers here in the state of Michigan. Individually and collectively, we have no open zoning violations, no open or prior building safety violations, nor any past due tax bills or tax liens. Eric, Brian, and I also own and operate a chain of retail vapor stores under the name Grand Traverse Vapor LLC. GT Vapor is not, nor has it ever been involved in the cannabis industry. The business was founded with the goal of helping adult smokers find alternatives to cigarettes. Over the past 6.5 years of operation, GT Vapor has grown to 5 locations throughout northern Michigan. We have about 30 employees on staff during peak season and have amassed a database of tens of thousands of satisfied adult customers and brand advocates. Operationally, a GT Vapor store is similar to a medical marijuana provisioning center or a retail marijuana establishment in several respects. GT Vapor operates a strict age-controlled environment where documentation is checked for each and every customer. Internal database system software that we use is similar to Michigan's seed-to-sale tracking software metric from the standpoint of inventory tracking and individual's purchase history. Each customer works with an individual sales associate based on their unique smoking cessation needs. All products are kept behind glass display cases at GT Vapor locations and controlled by our employees until point of sale. And as part of our organizational culture, we feel like we've established high expectations for employee product knowledge, continuing education, and the creation of customer service experience. At GT Vapor over the past 6.5 years, we feel like we've planted the operational seeds necessary for Fresh Coast Provisioning's future, and we've provided you all with copies of the related operations manuals here this afternoon. So let's move on to our proposed projects for a few minutes. 28 Arthur Street is a former gas station. 32 Arthur Street, a former car wash. In addition to the third property located between the two, these parcels have been a blight on the city's highly visible US 31 corridor for years. So much so, in fact, that the total 450 feet of frontage on US 31 has been a focus of Manistee's participation in the Redevelopment Ready Communities program. While we believe each one of these projects is strong enough to stand on its own merits, collectively, the projects achieve a redevelopment goal the city of Manistee has had for years. Now, we envision 2 rehabilitated facilities, one catering to adult use marijuana customers, that would be located at 32 Arthur Street, and the other to medical marijuana patients located at 28 Arthur Street. This assumes that the city council doesn't change the number of various permits available or the types of facilities authorized. Now, rehabbing these 2 buildings should have a direct and immediate impact on the property tax rolls these properties generate for the community. Further, as both properties are and have been vacant for some time, our projects do not displace any existing businesses successfully operating within the city limits currently. Our organization is also in the early stages of vetting prospective nonprofit partners here in the community for an annual donation program predicated upon our company operationalizing our business here in Manistee. At this point, I'd like to turn things over to Dusty Christensen of Mansfield Land Use Consultants. Dusty's an expert and can further discuss our specific site plans for the facilities and walk you through the architectural renderings that we've had created for 28 and 32 Arthur Street. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. As Nick mentioned, my name is Dusty Christensen. I am a landscape architect and planner with Mansfield Land Use Consultants in Traverse City. Can you back up? Gosh, let's see, 2 more slides before that, please. An important thing to note, and Nick mentioned it as he was going through his presentation, is that, and I'll begin with 28 Arthur Street. I have site plans for 32 as well, which we can do, I'm assuming, is a separate public hearing following this? Okay.
Correct, yeah.
Perfect. 28 Arthur Street, as you know, is a former gas station property, and with the redevelopment of these types of properties in our communities here in northern Michigan, the first thing that people think of oftentimes is, are there any environmental contamination issues that we have to consider? With 28 Arthur Street, that is not the case. The underground storage tanks have been removed. The state has gone thoroughly through the process of the removal of those tanks and has verified that there's a full release on the property, and there's no further work needed as far as the state regulations are concerned for the cleanup of any contaminations or decommissioning of this gas station site. Next slide, please. Again, the plans that you had originally in your packet were our original submittal to the city for this project. Since then, within the past few days, in working with staff, we've identified some items that we've added to the plans, and I'll have those on the slides here tonight. And I'll note the differences and point those things out as we get to them. But this rendering is of the 28 Arthur Street building, which is a single-story brick building. It used to be the home of the gas station operation itself. Also on site is the old canopy that covered the gas pumps itself. Next slide, please. This is a little bit tough to read on the screen, but this here is US 31 bordering the east side of the site. The gas station building is here, kind of on the south side of the site, and the canopy itself is here over the parking lot. Next slide. Our proposal at this point, including the revisions to the plan that have been submitted recently, is to obviously repurpose and renovate the building here on the south side of the site for the proposed use. Ultimately, there's been some changes proposed to the parking and vehicular circulation on site itself. This plan shows the closing of the south curb cut. Currently, there are 2 curb cuts on site, which doesn't necessarily jive with the access management goals of the city as put forth in the master plan and the zoning ordinance. So we're proposing at this time to remove that south curb cut and limit vehicular access to the north curb cut on the site there. We're removing the canopy at this point and its associated lighting to provide for some parking within this portion of the parking lot, as well as some parking up against the front of the building here. There's pavement up against the road right-of-way to this point, which we're planning on removing a fair portion of and replacing it with landscaping, and then also a rain garden, which was something that we had discussed with staff as a part of the revisions to our site plan. And it's just a way to mitigate some of the stormwater runoff that is currently going into catch basins on the site and then flowing into a greater stormwater catchment system that ultimately, I believe, outlets into the lake. So the intent is to use that rain garden to capture some of the additional runoff, treat it on site, and allow it to infiltrate back to groundwater. Another thing that we've come up with is replacing the canopy lighting that we were going to count on to shield and serve our parking lot needs with additional light poles that comply with the dark sky ordinance requirements. And we have tucked the dumpster behind the building to hide it from view as opposed to having it out in the parking lot. Those are the main changes that you'll see from the plans that you had, but ultimately I think that we've come to a good place as far as beautifying the property, complying with city ordinance standards, and then helping to meet those additional goals of enhancing the aesthetics of this US 31 corridor as you enter the city from the north. The proposed sign location is here on the east side of the property. There's an existing pole sign on site that will be replaced by a monument sign that complies with all of the ordinance standards. And we've also accounted for, oops, did I just advance a slide there? Oh, I can do it. I can advance from here. All right, we're also accounting for vehicular connection in the future to the north, property to the north, 30 Arthur Street, once that is developed. Let's go to the next one. Excuse me. I have a few slides here, some renderings of the building itself with a preliminary build-out vision. The first slide that you saw before I began talking about this site was a daytime view of the building. The brick exterior will be treated to kind of give it a facelift, as will the mansard roof to bring it up to date and give it a more fresh look. This is a nighttime view of the building itself. We're looking at redefining the interior spaces on the building to address not only the needs of the clients, the customers of the business, but also to conform with the state requirements for these uses. Again, this is just a rendered view of what the lobby will look like, the sales area, and then that's all I have for 28 Arthur Street. At this point in time, again, given the time constraints that Nick mentioned at the beginning of his presentation, I'll leave my portion of the speaking, and we can go to questions and answers or anything you'd like, and I can be back to talk about the next site.
All right. So anything from staff?
The sign on the mansard roof, you were saying, how does that showcase the illumination? Is it underlit? It's not, can you tell me more about that?
Right now in this rendering, we're showing it as internally lit lettering. If that doesn't comply with the standards of the ordinance, we can do backlit lighting, backlit lettering as well. That sign will be less than 50 square feet in order to comply with the ordinance standards. There's no limit on the maximum number of wall signs that you can have within the ordinance, I believe, in this zoning district. So the freestanding monument sign out at the road will comply with ordinance standards, and then we'll have just the one wall sign. And we'd like to have it be lit, but obviously it'll comply with the sign standards.
Can I ask a question, Mark?
Yes, go ahead.
Well, I don't know if you or the other gentleman, as far as number of employees, do we have a number, like you might throw out 3 or 6?
That is not my area of expertise. I'm the site plan guy, so I will hand it back over to Nick.
Actually, I'm gonna introduce our Chief Operations Officer, Eric Piedmont, my brother, and he could field operations-related questions for you.
Okay.
Hi, thank you, Eric Piedmont. We estimate anywhere between 8 and 12 new employees for each establishment. There are going to be various different job titles and salaries commensurate with those roles and responsibilities. Included in the packet in which you guys have is a subsection of a staffing plan and then a very detailed staffing plan independently that should give you an idea of what we look to do with each facility. That is not a comprehensive view, that is each individual location.
And a living wage, I assume, for these 8 or 12 people?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay. All right, that's all I got to go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to comment that I like the idea that you're looking at removing that canopy. Again, if you drive by, that's one of our community eyesores, and to see that gone all by itself is gonna make a difference to that corridor. Also, a comment that I think your sign is very nicely done as well, so.
Further to the canopy, again, I just want to apologize for the site plan confusion that you guys yesterday. We're just trying to sort of be proactive with the recommendations that you guys had suggested.
Any other questions?
Not at this point, Martha. How
Go ahead.
about hours?
What are the hours of these opening and closing?
We, excuse me, we typically go about 9 to 9. That does vary by municipality, and I believe that does coincide with the ordinance in which is set forth here in the city. We will operate within the guidelines in which the city presents with us.
Makes sense.
Do you have other operations in Traverse City where you come from? Do you have something there?
Unfortunately, we were unlucky in the lottery that Traverse City put forth in May. We did have one application in, a solo application on one property. I'm not going to delve into the nuances of the Traverse City application process here, but there ended up being 75 or so other applicants on roughly 30 other properties for 13 licenses. And unfortunately, odds were not in our favor that day. We do not have any operational units as of yet. We are in various stages of launch with different municipalities across northern Michigan.
Raj?
No, I'm.
Question?
No, I was good. I was, hours, that's right.
Pam? Anything?
Yeah, okay.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I will open the hearing for public comments. If there's anyone that would like to address the council or say something, please come to the podium, name and address, please.
In regards to this,
Yes. Yeah.
okay.
Okay. No one? All right. And I will close the public hearing on 28 Arthur Street.
Alrighty. First Coast. Oh, then 32 is the same, they're the same people, eh?
Yeah.
All right, I will open the public hearing for Fresh Coast Provisioning LLC, 32 Arthur Street.
So again, just in the interest of everybody's time, instead of doing the sort of introductory portion of our presentation, again, we can probably just dive right into the renderings and site plans if everyone's agreeable to that.
Is that good?
Great.
Good?
So
All
I'll say our recommendations from the plan that was accepted and approved at that point, and then they can, okay, so. The following recommendations for special use permit include closing the north side curb cut, removing the attendance station in front of the property and reconfigure the lighting, relocate trash dumpsters behind building with driveway, and add rain garden to east side of property to mitigate runoff. The fire department has already expressed has stipulated fire suppression systems for this and every other building in the MSO. And then the Department of Public Works has stipulated separating water shutoffs not connected to neighboring parcel buildings so that the city will be able to shut off water to the individual buildings and they don't have connecting water lines, so.
That's a good idea. Alrighty.
All set, Kyle?
Just 1 second.
Okay.
That's the same store.
All right, let's see here.
Where am
All
I?
right.
Oops. All right. I'm back. Dusty Christensen again with Mansfield Land Use Consultants, here to address 32 Arthur Street. Again, this is another former automotive property, this one being a car wash. Again, some of the same concerns as a gas station property exist on a car wash property. And as with 28 Arthur Street, all underground storage tanks and environmental cleanup has been done and approved by the state, so there's no further work needed in that regard on this site. Oops, I'm going backwards. As it was mentioned by staff, there were some recommendations made, and we had some discussions following our original submittal, and those recommendations were, again, to close the north side curb cut, remove the attendant station and canopy, relocate the dumpster on our site plan, and then actually add a rain garden on this site as well. And all of those recommendations have been incorporated into the plans that I'll show you here in the slideshow. To begin with, again, we're looking at dressing up the facade of an existing building. So facade treatments, roof treatments, a little bit of paint, some new materials on the exterior, and then the car wash building itself presents some more difficulty in actually renovating to a building that can be used for the proposed use, including the removal of the overhead doors, et cetera. And so you can see here, this is the front street-facing facade of the existing building, and you can see how it's been addressed to make the transition from an old vacant car wash building into a building that has a better curb appeal, and will provide a better aesthetic to motorists, pedestrians coming into town from the north on US 31. Again, to go over the existing site conditions, we're just 2 doors north of the gas station on 28 Arthur Street, which is down here at the bottom of the screen. Again, US 31 on the east side of the site. The car wash building itself sits here, and then there's an attendant station and canopy here in between the building and the highway, which is proposed to be removed. Currently, there's kind of a free-for-all vehicular circulation and parking lot between this and the adjoining use to the north. We would be closing down the north curb cut, which falls in this area here, removing pavement, incorporating a rain garden, again, to capture some of that surface runoff and allow it to infiltrate back to groundwater and filter, as opposed to just dumping it into the existing stormwater system that currently resides under the parking lot. Within that area where the canopy is removed, we're providing parking spaces along with a barrier-free parking space and an additional parking space up along the face of the building itself. The dumpster has been moved to the back of the building along with all loading and unloading to keep those uses and site activities behind the building, out of sight from the general public and motoring traffic traveling up and down US 31 itself. Landscaping will be provided along the front of the property again in a similar manner to 28 Arthur, again just to dress up the property, make it more aesthetically pleasing, and really provide that improvement to the entry gateway into the city from the north. As with 28 Arthur Street, I have some renderings to show you of the building itself. But before I do that, maybe I should run back and show you here. This is probably the easiest way to see it. Again, we're maintaining a vehicular connection between the proposed project here on 32 Arthur Street and the property to the north. So we maintain that vehicular circulation off of the highway. Again, it mimics and reflects the access management standards of the city's master plan and zoning ordinance, which really hopes to get folks who are making multiple stops at retail, service, and restaurant establishments on the highway, to give them the ability to get off the highway and then make multiple stops without having to go back out onto the highway and make multiple turns, thus limiting congestion, turning conflicts, accidents, things of that nature. And I'll run through some of the renderings we have here for the former car wash building. Again, this is the front facade, although at night. And similar to 28 Arthur Street, we've developed a floor plan that not only accommodates the customers for the property, but complies with all of the state regulations for separation of uses and security. You'll see here a rendering of the lobby. Again, the intent is to provide a nice high-class establishment that welcomes customers and really does provide a benefit to the community by renovating an existing vacant building and providing improvements to a property that has been a part of the Redevelopment Ready Communities Program list of proposed or potential redevelopment properties within the city for a number of years. This would be the actual retail space. A retail space from the opposite angle here. And that is all I have for 32 Arthur Street. At this point, Eric, I don't know if you want to address the maintenance plan or if you want me to try to go through it.
So as part of the recommendations we had from staff, we had some questions in regards to a maintenance plan. And we understand the importance of that, especially with properties that have been vacant and a blight on the community for such a long period of time. We have no interest in spending the amount of capital and time that we're proposing to do here to rehab these buildings and not maintain them and keep them up to the standards in which we expect. So due to that, we have, based on staff recommendations, developed a maintenance plan that's focused around two key areas, preventative and corrective maintenance. We have identified several different areas in which we are going to operate on a preventative maintenance schedule, just periodic checks through on the building facade and exterior, on the systems and equipment. Obviously, we want to make sure the environment control and specifically the security are always fully operational with redundancy built into those systems. And then exterior aesthetics, we've mentioned the rain garden a couple different times on the new site plans in which we've put forth, and we want to ensure that those are pleasing to the eye as people drive past. Really, collectively, this is just our vision to be good community partners. We want to come in, we want to invest in the community of Manistee. We love northern Michigan, and we love the fresh coast atmosphere that it permeates the culture down here. So we want to update these buildings and keep them looking that way for as long as you guys will allow us to operate here in the city.
Any questions?
On that picture that showed the outside,
Yes.
what is that? Is that for garbage storage? What is that? The building?
To the left.
Yes, originally that was the location of our dumpster enclosure on our first site plan. Since then, on the revised plans that we've heard so much about to this point, that dumpster enclosure has been moved behind the building, so it wouldn't be visible from the street. It'd be set back behind the building.
So that will eliminate that.
Yes, so that rendering, that dumpster enclosure would be behind the building,
Okay.
yep.
That was in the first one, okay.
Rusty, I have a question just regarding the facades. I understood one of you to say that the 28 Arthur Street would be for medical marijuana patients, and that 32 was gonna be your retail location?
Yes, that's my understanding. I'm probably not the best one to answer that question. I'll have Nick verify.
I just wonder how you're gonna differentiate to people, the buildings, although they look different, your logo's exactly the same, and there's nothing to differentiate one location from the other.
Yeah, that's a fair question, and we'll certainly take that under advisement as, we if and when we're given the opportunity to proceed forward with these development projects. That's a good point.
I have a question on 32 Arthur Street. You do have security in 32 Arthur Street?
Absolutely, yeah.
And then you have a lobby, are you only, and then in the retail, are you only letting so many customers in the retail area?
Yes, sir. So to start, when an individual walks into one of our establishments, they're going to present to us their ID. In the medicinal side, they'll present their medicinal card as well. They will at that point be checked into the state monitoring database, and then essentially wait in the lobby until one of our associates come from the secured access area and walk them back. The way we typically propose, to do this is we want to have appointment windows. So essentially, it's going to help control the flow of individuals through our establishments throughout the day. We typically assume between 10 and 15 minutes is enough time for us to understand the medicinal needs of the patient and then give them the proper medication.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Will this have the same operating hours?
Yes, ma'am.
I seen what on the first plan for 28, you had a separate security room, but not a separate security room on the recreational one.
We will have a full security system in compliance with state law in both establishments,
Okay.
including 24-hour, live feed monitoring security, limited access and full restricted access areas.
Okay, now I see where the security area is there. It was
And-
hard to see in that first one.
In locked storage areas. Yes, sir. No, we will be a very secure facility. Yes, sir.
One question, again, in your pamphlet, you address the Swiderski property, which is 30 Arthur.
Yes,
Are you planning on leasing that property so that there's gonna be a connection between 32 and 28?
so the packet in which you mentioned is actually, I believe that is a marketing packet that was created by the city of Manistee for the redevelopment ready community project. Yes, yeah, at the end of that, yeah, at the very last part of that is the marketing packet that the city or state put forth. It does include that on there. We have talked about different plans for that, including potentially knocking that down and creating a cohesive piece between the three properties.
But right now, that is not part of any plan.
Right now, that is not part of any plan. There's nothing concrete, I guess is the best way to say, sir.
Because at one time, years ago, that all that property was Swiderski Oil at one time, before the gas station and the
Yeah,
car wash came in, it used to be all Swiderski Oil.
used to be a coal yard.
Yep, and Colvin there too.
So that property basically is gonna stay as is?
I think it's important just to say that, you know, as developers, I mean, we're willing to cooperate with the city. You know, we want to be good corporate partners. We're certainly willing to take, you know, those suggestions or recommendations under advisement and, you know, cooperate with the city, cooperate with the property owner to make the whole tract of land, you know, sort of representative of the aesthetics that I think the planning commission would want. So, is that a reasonable?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
I
Any
believe
other
so.
questions? Roger?
No, I don't have any questions.
Marlene?
It'll be all right.
Pam? Shelley? Mike? Bob? No, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Staff has one question.
What's that?
Seth.
So one question we're asking today, and if we go back to where you guys have opened the drives between the curb cuts between each property up there, one thing, if two landowners that are side by side are granted a license or a special use in this, would you be willing to work with them to close the drives to have a shared drive or shared parking?
I don't see any reason that would be a problem.
Yeah.
Again, I defer to the actual applicants themselves, but
Those would be things that we take under consideration on a case-by-case basis.
What do you mean to drive from one, like, store to the other without going on the highway?
Yeah, something like an access drive along parallel to the road.
Right.
Makes,
We
that
don't
would
build
make sense.
area.
Makes sense.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, like an access road, yeah, okay.
You all set, Mike? Okay,
Yeah, I think we're all done there.
thank you. I'd like to open for public comments. Anyone like to comment on 32 Arthur Street? Please approach the podium. Name and address, please. You have up to 5 minutes.
Thank you. I'm Dan Meisner, 165 Joslyn Cove Drive. If you don't know where that is, the address at that property used to be 165 Arthur Street. So I'm kind of right in the middle of this marijuana mile that you have proposed on the map here.
Okay.
One of the things that I would like to see, they're talking about the blight of the city, seeing this terrible property. I would like to see, if you're gonna put more than one facility in, that you have them in one place and not have a long string of marijuana facilities, because people that come through town, the tourists that come through town, those are the things that they see. I don't wanna see Manistee being seen as a drug town. And, you know, if you come along, you've got one business at one end, 2 or 3 near the motel, couple of them past the motel. You've got a mile of drug signs for people when they come through Manistee. And that may attract some tourists, but it may very well detract a lot of other tourists, and it may not be attracting the ones that you want in this town. Now, pretty much all of these facilities are pretty close proximity to the, how do I put it, low-budget motel. And I don't wanna see that become a 40-plus room drug house rent by the night. I live right across the street from that, and we already have a problem since that's opened and become completely open with drunks coming across the street and raising hell in our parking lot and stuff. And I've had to call the police a couple of times. My neighbors have had to call the police a couple of times to have people removed at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because they're out there yelling or fighting or arguing with their wife on our property. And this is a really good opportunity to increase that activity. I'm against having marijuana sales in the city to begin with, and I really don't want it on my doorstep. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Close public hearing. Now we'll open the public hearing on 50 Arthur Street, excuse me.
34, I think now, right?
No, 50
Nope,
was
50.
But he changed it.
Arthur Street Exchange LLC.
Arthur Street Exchange LLC, yeah.
I thought they said that was changed to 33.
Okay, all right. What do you want?
Which one was changed? Oh, number
Yeah.
4,
74.
34.
70.
Number 4 is 34. Oh,
And
okay, number 4 is 74, not 50.
Hello,
Hello.
my name is Seth Tompkins, and I'm the attorney for Arthur Street, 50 Arthur Street LLC, 50 Arthur Street Exchange. The owner of that is, one of the members is Robert Hines. He's not here today, but that's the landowner. They would be renting to a company called Indica LLC, which is probably the business that you're interested in talking about today. That's the actual company that will be owning and operating the marijuana provisioning center. So I created an outline for you, and that's pretty much what I'm going to be going
Okay,
off of.
thank you.
So today, we're here asking for a special land use approval for both medical and adult use for a provisioning center located at 50 Arthur Street in your city. As I indicated, the landowner will be leasing to a company called Indica LLC. Presently, Indica LLC, they do business under the trade name Sticky, and they are a licensed and operating provisioning center presently in Ypsilanti, Michigan. They've been operating first under the emergency rules, and they were granted a license and are now fully compliant with all the state regulations. They have been given a permit also for home delivery, so they've been scrutinized heavily by both another municipality and by the state.
Yeah.
And to that end, they actually have a very good relationship and a great history with the city of Ypsilanti right now, so much so that the city is allowing them to move to a larger location down the street and are encouraging them to do that. And they're happy to do that because it just expands business, but it's also another opportunity to help develop another piece of property that wasn't being used. Presently, both the landowner and the operator, Indica LLC, they pay all of their taxes. They have no debts with anybody in a municipal way. They take all their vitamins. They do everything they're supposed to do to make sure that they're a good neighbor and making sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed when it comes to dealing with whatever municipality they're working with. So this would be another application that they'd like to try to get onto this side of the state. They're working in Grand Rapids, and they have a good opportunity to get one open there. They also have a grow facility that they've been approved for in Harrison Township, back on the other side of the state. So they're working to try to get a total integrated system between both a grow and provisioning centers across the state of Michigan. And The owner and operator of Indica is here today, and I wanted him to talk a little bit about his operations and who is going to be staffing at this location. Before that, it's not on here, I did want to say that Indica has municipal partnerships, if you will, that they work with community groups. And so they've contacted and they've actually have agreements to work with 2 community groups right now in Manistee. The Manistee Humane Society, which runs a no-kill animal shelter just down the street. We are working on a formal agreement with them. And these are both pledge of monetary consideration on a regular basis, but also for partnerships if they need fundraising support throughout the time that they're working there. The other one is it's an adult care facility that's presently being built. I don't have all the information. What's it called? The Wagner Center. So we have an operational agreement with them also to assist them on an ongoing basis. So that being said, I'd like to turn the microphone over to Jacob Abraham, who actually owns and operates the LLC, and he can tell you all about what he does on a day-to-day basis.
Hello, everyone. Like Seth said, my name is Jacob Abraham. I found cannabis in my youth. I'm a chef by trade. As a chef, we worked long hours, 12 hours plus. Cannabis was always my relief for my sore knees and sore feet after being on them all day when I got home. In saying that, the only reason I bring that up is I attribute my success in cannabis to the restaurant business. This is a hospitality business. People would like to come in. They would like to be recognized. I kind of compare it to Cheers. I want everyone to come in and we know your name. We're going to recommend, listen to your ailments, recommend, what we find to be the best products on the market, and, take care of the people who need it. In my current store, I'll tell you that 50% and growing of my patients are the elderly. In today's society, the pain pills have been taken away, and this is a much natural, more healthier remedy just to alleviate some pain. And it's not a cure-all, but it might put a smile on somebody's face who's going through chemotherapy or who's suffering from autism, or the list goes on and on and on. So if you guys have any questions for me, we have been operating since 2012. We've had 0 incidents with police. We've had 0 incidents with the state of Michigan. We do this by the book. We're here to stay. Like I said, we're providing a hospitality experience, and that's truly what it is. Yes, ma'am.
Are you real stuck on that name, Sticky?
Not at all. It is a nice name, and to be honest, the theory behind it is when we were first developing these things in 2012, we had to open up as a nonprofit. So Sticky was actually an anagram. It's St. Indica Coalition of Kindness, Ypsilanti. So it did stand for something. And if the name is not appropriate, yes, we would be open to changing it. We do in our whole business plan, we do have a market for 2 different stores, a Sticky and then kind of another one that we're kind of working on and developing now.
Okay.
You have any prototype drawings of what you're gonna do with the building and the area?
I'm going to pass it on to
Okay.
the next gentleman.
All right.
If you could, if there's no more questions, I can pass it over, but I'd like to take it.
Well, if you don't mind, Mark.
Go ahead.
It's just like if you're coming out of Ypsilanti and your stores are down there and you wanna open a store up here, and the other gentleman said it'll probably take 6 to 8 people, where do you plan on getting your 6 to 8 people?
Sir,
Don't
it's
they
gonna
have to
take-
be somewhat qualified?
It's going to take more than that. In my store right now, which is going to be about the same size operation,
Yeah.
I staff 15 to 18 people.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is, where do you get the qualified people? Or does it make, or don't you have to be qualified? From what I've read, you gotta know your stuff, you're running a.
Absolutely, and that's where I have people in place, and we're constantly hiring, and I'm overstaffing my store now in plans for expansion. I've had constant, success in putting together teams in the kitchen, and training people on certain things and certain protocols.
Well, we'd like to look local is what I'm trying to get to,
Oh yeah, no,
Right.
it can be learned. Thank you. I do have my manager here, Keith. He will be my day-to-day operator. I will be coming up here frequently. I've been coming up here as a child. My partner, Mr. Hines, he owns a property over on Fox Farm. So we've been coming up here since we were kids.
Okay.
That's what drew us to Manistee. And when the opportunity came, we looked at each other and we said, yeah, we've been going there since we've been kids. Let's do it. And so the opportunity presented itself, and here we are. We still have the property over on Fox Farm, so it makes it very easy for me to be up here when needed, to train staff. If and when we open, I plan on moving up here for a few months to make sure that we're trained and set up and ready to go.
All right. Okay, any other questions? Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Back up a minute, when you said you have some kind of a proposed deal with the Wagner Center, I didn't quite understand that.
So, we've contacted we have a social benefits coordinator. He's in Chicago today, okay? So we've also contacted ARC of Manistee, and we've contacted a bunch of different places. They've all gotten back to us. Two that have agreed to actually work with us on an ongoing basis was the Wagner Center, and the other one was the Manistee County Humane Society. So we're making a quarterly monetary contribution with them, and we will have a written agreement in place that for a period of time, right now, the initial term is 2 years. Basically, we make a commitment to both of these organizations that if they need assistance with fundraising efforts, I mean, that's really where it's at. It's more for fundraising and being a community partner. There is a minimum monetary contribution that we were giving on a quarterly. I'd rather not say. I mean, if you want to know, I'll tell you afterwards. But
Well, I'm a member of the board.
oh, great! I'll tell you. Oh,
This is the first I've ever
oh,
heard
well,
that.
this is we just heard back from them last week, so that's why we don't have anything in writing yet. It's just all of this happened very quickly. I can tell you exactly who do we speak with.
Oh, Mark Sandstad. We were in contact with Mark, and we told him what we were looking to do, and he just let us.
He's not a member of our board. He is strictly helping us with
Okay.
fundraising.
Yes.
Oh.
So that's, yeah,
Has no-
Okay. Okay. Well,
that's
then.
why we were directed to him then. That makes sense.
Cause like I said, we just
Okay.
had a meeting Tuesday, and this is all news to me, so
Well-
I just wanna clarify.
Yeah, so there it is. So
We're
Mark-
planning on making a quarterly. Listen, if
Yeah.
I don't want it
You're
to
putting the
influence
cart
you.
here before the horse, cause you're speaking along.
Not really. We were told that he could make this agreement with us, so we'll speak to him. Anyways, contact the Humane Society. We for sure contacted them. And listen,
Who did you speak with at the Humane Society?
her name is. Give me 1 minute.
Okay.
Here it is. Homeward Bound. Hold on.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's run by the Humane Society. It's a no-kill shelter
I used
run
to
by
be
the.
on
Run by the local Humane Society. Just. I'm sorry. See, we didn't have the actual agreements completed yet.
That's okay. I'm just curious who you spoke to see if it was a board member or the manager.
No, it was someone that they had to go to. It was the manager. They had to go to the board,
Okay.
and then they had to come back with us and tell it was okay. I'm sorry. I got to search for it on my phone, and it's not going to find it. But I'll tell you more about the financial commitments that we made afterwards, and that we made to your organization as well afterwards. I didn't think it was appropriate to bring that up.
It is.
I do want to talk about the other economic benefits that the city will, of course, get from allowing the redevelopment. You know, it's very similar to almost everyone else's you're going to hear. There's going to be redevelopment of the property. The professionals that are going to be redevelop the property, they're all going to be from the community. The people that work here and that are going to be overseeing the day-to-day operations are primarily going to be from the community. The Indica already pays its people quite well. There's no reason for them to stop doing that. Like Jake said, they're a very above-board operation. They like to. It's really run really nice. So, you have anything else to say?
Well, the only thing I would like to say is that Seth mentioned, we have city approval, excuse me, for a Class A grow license in Harrison Township. We've also been approved by Mount Morris, which is outside of Flint, for a processing and also another dispensary. So we really are trying to grow rapidly, and I know you guys probably don't know this, but in my world, there's a huge shortage of product right now. So the benefits of being able to produce my own and be able to fill my stores can ensure that I can be open and I can provide top quality medicine for all the people here in the city.
In Michigan, there's a shortage?
There's a huge shortage, sir. A huge, huge shortage of product.
Colorado says their black market, there's so much out there.
Well, there's still.
That's another
yeah.
story.
Colorado.
We can talk later if you'd like. I can fill you in on everything.
We're in Kansas, okay, go ahead.
So if there's nothing else for me, I'll pass it along.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Paul Reinhold, and I'm with Pryor Newhoff, and I'm working with Indica Group on the site development of the project for the property at 50 Arthur Street. If you look on the map here, this is the site survey. The property is right here. To the north of the property is Grand Rental, and to the south is Tangled Tackle and Mancino's. And it's all, the access to our site is through shared access drives to the north and to the south. So we'll be continuing to use those to get to our property. From a topographic standpoint, there's kind of a ridge point that runs through the middle of the site. Drainage is all surface drainage over the existing parking to the back towards the railroad tracks to the west. To the east, it surface drains across the parking lot into some drains. If you go to the next slide, the proposed site. If you want to go to the site plan rendering, that would be good.
Is this the one you want, to the next one? or-
Color rendering?
Okay.
I can better speak to that then. If everybody stands on their head, they can.
Your hands on your head?
There we go. That's good.
There you go.
So, as I stated before, we've got two access points into the site from the north and to the south. We've got two shared access drives. Existing on, there are 43 parking spaces right now, and it's well overparked at this point, and we're anticipating removing quite a bit of the concrete paving out here in the front and creating a rain garden here, and cutting islands in and adding some landscape to add some buffer into the parking area. As I stated, the site drainage is all surface drainage, and it'll continue to surface drain across the site into this green space now where we're going to be creating a rain garden. We're providing barrier-free access from the existing sidewalk so that there's public access through the parking area through a striped crosswalk type striping, and reconstructing this sidewalk here in front of the building to provide barrier-free access. And if any questions regarding the site development, I'd be happy to answer those.
Is there any comments from the,
We have a recommendation and report. Would you like me to give that right now then? Or would you like?
Are we done with the presentation? What I was looking for is if you had some mock-ups of what you're gonna do with the building, you know, as the other applicants have done, have presented to us, anything like that?
No, we strictly worked on the site development, not the architectural portion of the project.
Okay.
Mark, could I ask?
Go ahead.
How about signage? Is it gonna be indica? Is that the sign, or, well, yeah,
They
the
have a
sticky,
sample.
is that what,
Well,
is
we
it?
would like to be sticky, but it's
That's-
not, you know.
It's
It's not gonna be
Roger.
sticky.
I got a question.
There is an existing sign pedestal out here that's going to be reutilized, is that correct? The monument sign?
Nope, that, yep. Yeah,
Now, looking at your,
gonna be removed.
said we
Yeah.
got the rain the rain garden in front, is there any
Yes.
other stormwater locations, how it's gonna get anywhere?
Well, it's difficult to see, but we will be providing 2 new drain inlets that are part of the rain garden system, and an overflow that's connecting to an existing storm line that's exiting the site that is in Arthur Street.
Okay, so the stuff along the north side of the building there, you're still gonna all run down toward that area?
North of the building, from about the midpoint from the midpoint, it actually heads west back toward the railroad.
Right.
And the remainder of the site is actually kind of heading northeast. So we'll be catching a lot of the water that's on this part of the site and actually coming from across the neighboring site to the south.
Well, I'm sure the local engineers are gonna be checking on the water as far as level, you know, where it goes.
Well,
I
in my
approve.
in my profession, that's the stuff I look for. I'm a
Well,
land
I
surveyor
follow-
by trade,
Okay,
so
Sure.
that's stuff I look for.
yeah.
Okay, look for it, good for you.
We did provide plans that have stormwater calculations on
Yeah.
those.
Okay.
There you go.
Kyle? Well, let me see, any other questions?
You've not really gotten into any kind of signage, what
Sticky.
kind of lighting on it or whatever?
We did provide a site lighting plan that has point-by points or lighting levels for the entire site that was reviewed by the city.
Well, we can deal with that later too. Oh, oh,
Right, nope.
there it is.
There you go.
There you go.
Hold on one second, sorry.
Hold on. They're sticky.
And as you can see, I mean, we're not, looking at that, I mean, we're not promoting marijuana, we don't do green crosses, we don't do big pot leaves. It is just, as you see it, it's a simple stick. So, I mean, take it what it is, my 13-year-old nephew likes my t-shirts, and when people ask him, he just tells them it's a clothing line. And you really can't tell what it is just by looking at it, so.
You had mentioned that there's a plethora of parking spaces. Is there any possibility that you can eliminate some additional parking spaces and have maybe some more green space, or maybe make the, a little bit more attractive?
If that's requested by the city, we'd be willing to do that,
We're
yes.
all just a little nervous because with recreational coming and everything, and we're not really sure what the response is gonna be. We're about to go from 300,000 people I'm allowed to service to 8 million.
Yeah.
So I'm really not sure what the volume's gonna be, so we were trying to just err on the side of caution.
With that in mind, do you have an idea for customers on a daily basis? If you're dealing numbers like that?
Right now, I'm doing about 130 to 150 people a day at this point.
Really?
Yes, $10,000 in revenue
Whoa.
a day. It is a highly sought after product.
Looking for a partner?
We want it.
No, I can't say that.
Roger can't do that, so.
Yeah, Roger.
The numbers before I do that is, a lot of it gets eliminated by tax, and a lot of it gets eliminated by fees, and all the people that come through to be able to supply the product.
Zoning requirements only indicate that you would need eight parking spaces for the size of the building.
Yeah.
But use-wise, it would be better if there were more parking spaces than just the 8.
Well, we've tried to get away from park with the blacktop and everything. We're trying to get back to the green, you know.
We are adding an additional 3,200 square feet of green space along the street. So
Yeah, I
it's
see
nearly
that.
5,000 square feet.
Yeah. Which is all good.
Yes.
It's all good.
How many parking spots are in this plan currently, would you say? Is it 47, was it, or 50?
There were 43, there are now 36,
Okay.
including the barrier-free spaces.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how many are handicap spots?
There are 2 were required.
Are you ready for the
Yes,
staff?
please.
Okay. So So regarding the reduced parking spaces, that's something the planning department recommends. We do think that 36 still is a lot for the size, and if we could eliminate a few more, that would be recommended. We think that you can, and to add more green space would help with stormwater flow and things like that as well. Maybe so. The fire department has prefaced in all preceding applicants and presentations that a fire suppression system is required for the building. And then lastly, the Department of Public Works has stipulated, like the last presentation, separate water shutoffs, not connecting to neighboring parcel buildings, and the city must be able to shut off the water to this individual building, so. That's the recommendations for 50 Arthur.
Thank you.
That sounds like a plan. What do you think about bike racks? Do we ask for bike racks?
We can, I mean, now's the time.
You know, I don't know if
We
you,
have provided two on the site plan.
oh, you do? You did? I didn't notice. Okay, well, that's good. Yeah, I mean, you know, somebody riding a bike, lose their license.
Is there any other questions by the commission? None? Okay, thank you. Public hearing, or public comments, I will open that for public comments. Anybody would like to comment on Arthur Street Exchange, 50 Arthur Street, please come to the podium. Name and address, please. You have 5 minutes.
Here, Arthur, yeah.
Thank you, Dan Meisner, 165 Joslyn Cove Drive. Couple of things here. There's a curve just north and a curve just south of the access on this property. And you come out of Tangle Tackle, you're between those two curves, and that's where you're gonna be coming out from this. And the speed limit there is 40, and most people are doing at least that. And you have to really be paying attention, and it's almost impossible to turn left and go north out of there. You pretty much have to go to the south, or you're gonna be there a long, long time. I saw that sign, and I see that potential green space, rain garden. Anything you do along there to obstruct the view of the traffic is going to cause accidents. You really need to take a look at, for anything along that whole stretch where all those curves are. You don't want a sign that's on the ground near the road blocking the vision. You're gonna have cars piling up there a lot. And then back to my general theme, again, on all of these, I hope you guys have done your due diligence and talked to your police department and your county sheriff's department. I've talked to a couple police officers, city police officers about this, and they said, hey, look, we've already got a terrible fentanyl problem. When you add marijuana on top of that, it's getting scary. We're gonna have to increase police. You'll see an increase in, you can look at me all you want, I'm not changing my position. You'll see an increase in the need for medical response. And if you see the 60 Minutes or the public broadcast specials that talk about what's happened in Colorado, I would ask you to contact a city in Colorado about the size of Manistee, 7,000 people, and see what the unintended consequences there have been, because the same thing happens here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, all the permits are going through our safety director, correct?
Which
The
makes,
permit-
Dan brings up a nice comment on the sight lines coming out, pulling out. I mean, the police have signed off on this. Where are we?
There's setbacks for signs in the ordinance that make sure clear visibility for any sign in the district will be readily adhered to have the sign be granted the permit to have the sign permit in the first place. So there is visibility stipulations for approving signs.
Placements.
Similar,
And with the rain gardens too?
The setbacks off the public right-of-way will be addressed with that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you and I talked about that one day, about the sight lines and everything else. That day you and I met for a meeting
Yeah.
about that for a while, quite extensively on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. All right.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
We have one last question for the Arthur Street Exchange team. Regarding sharing access with other properties, is the team open to having shared access with other neighboring parcels?
We'd be more than happy. We follow a good neighbor program. I'm a nice guy, man. I like to get along with everybody.
Okay.
So we absolutely, yes, we'll be
Okay.
open to sharing.
Do you have any other questions? Are we good?
Yeah, I think that should be with all of them, if we can get that road through there, or make
Good.
a, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Access.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Close that public hearing, and we will open the public hearing for Lake Effect LLC, 74 Arthur Street.
74 Arthur Street. All righty.
Yeah, absolutely.
This presentation has an interactive element that needs the mouse for the computer to have what is it?
Just to click on some of the elements.
Okay, yep, so, the applicant team who's presenting will be using the mouse,
All right.
and things like that, so, here we are.
I don't know. Mhm.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Calvin G., and I am the Chief Technical and Marketing Officer for Lake Effect LLC. We're located with our flagship store in Portage, Michigan. We'd like to thank the City Council, the greater Manistee community, and all the staff for having us here today. I'd like to introduce the Lake Effect team. Todd Schaefer, who is the applicant of our application, could not be here. He and his wife had a baby son just recently, so he's busy with that. But I am joined today by Mike Martin, who is a former NFL player. He's an NFL veteran, former captain of the University of Michigan football team, and he's also the head of our philanthropy and corporate outreach division. We're also joined by Paul Adamski. Some of you may recognize him. He is a local resident here, and he's also the property owner of the potential real estate that would be building our business on top of. And he's been proudly serving our community and he and his family since 1974. We are also joined by Aaron Cole, head of our cultivation, brand ambassador, and director of holistic education and alternative medicine. Calvin G. once again, myself. We're also here joined by Jevin Weinberg, a U.S. Marine veteran, cancer survivor, cannabis advocate, and co-founder of Lake Effect. So we're very proud of the values that we hold at Lake Effect. Community, commerce, and innovation are all the principles that we would like to be bringing to Manistee and this community moving forward, if given the opportunity. The property that we are going to be building upon, we want to also make it a destination, and we pride ourselves in giving our customers, as well as tourists and local residents, a great experience coming to our facilities. And that's a look at it right there. I'd like to play a video real quick just to show the vision behind the Lake Effect and a little bit more about our company. As you can see from that video, we are a fully vertically integrated cannabis operation. We will service all of our retail locations with our own products. We have over 170,000 square foot of cultivation space, and we'd be more than happy to bring another cultivation center here in Manistee if given the opportunity to create even more jobs and create an even greater economic impact. At this time, I'd like to pass it off to Jevin to talk more about our business experience and our applicant.
Thank you, Calvin. Thank you, City of Manistee local government, for the opportunity to present before you today. I think this is a very important opportunity for everyone involved. Me being a cancer survivor and a veteran, a cancer diagnosis for me is what really lit the fire and opened and started Lake Effect, which is why I'm the co-founder of it. We opened in about 2015, so we've been at it about 4 years now. I'm speaking on behalf of the ownership group as well as Todd Schaefer, the co-founder with me, and he's also a practicing attorney, which is really nice to have on your team. He did just have a baby boy, so he's certainly busy with that. He is a good standing member of the Michigan Marijuana Law Section. As the slide alludes to, we do have investments all around the state of Michigan at this point, in several municipalities that you'll see later on in the slideshow. As the founder of Lake Effect, we've built the business quite well. 2018 revenue, as you can see there, was multi-millions of dollars, and I think the important thing about that to look at is really that's the quality of medicine that brings that revenue in for people. Just to give you a quick idea, Kalamazoo County has about 250,000 residents. There's about 6,500 registered patients in the county, and we have 20,000 patients, over 20,000 signed up with us. So it shows you right there that a lot of people are coming in from outside of Kalamazoo County to get medicine, because locations to get dignified access to medicine are very sparse. Of course, we lead by example from day one. We have several awards that are listed there, and several reviews from people all across the state that we're treated with dignity and respect in our location and getting their medication. Let's look at the inside of our consultation floor. We have 5 different stations there. We also have a pre-order system. We were also the 3rd company in the state to get a full delivery license, so we do deliveries as well, in a very secure car. Our delivery drivers have body cameras. We've never had an incident there in 4 years of anything criminal or anything like that. We have an extensive camera system and security, which is all state mandated. That's a look at our lobby right there. You can even kind of see some of the cameras. We have medical information on the wall as well as our menus. A little bit about our cannabis experience. As I alluded to, we have operations across the state at this point. Grow and processing is extremely important to us. Being vertically integrated really is the key to success in this industry. If you're not vertically integrated, it's going to be a tough road for you. So we've put a lot of focus and effort into that, and we're very excited about being able to control our own destiny through those grows and processors. A couple letter of recommendations from Portage. One is from the current mayor of Portage. One's from the current city manager. You can read the details on them. Local investment and secured banking, just you guys, we're a fully licensed company. There are several banks in this state that are willing to work with fully licensed companies. We do have credit and debit card availability. We don't keep a lot of cash on site, although there is, of course, going to be safes on site. We also donate a lot to charity. I'm a lifetime member of the VFW and the American Legion. We donate thousands of dollars to those organizations. I host monthly seminars that are free of charge the first Monday of every month at the VFW for anyone to come in and get educated on cannabis, since we all know we've never had a chance to get properly educated on cannabis. Applicant history, of course, none of this stuff, if there was any of this stuff going on, we wouldn't be standing before you today. To add on to that, we are fully licensed, and we are fully licensed for delivery as well. Safety and security is definitely a huge priority. Being a hard target is the key. Live Life is one of the credit unions that banks with us. They're also the ones that give us access to debit and credit cards. Again, as that says, we were one of the first to be approved for home delivery. This industry runs by secure transport. Every product from seed to sale is transported in a secure delivery vehicle that's tracked and monitored by GPS and even by the state point of sale systems that are in place. So there's never one single gram of product that the state should not be aware of. And if they find out that they are aware of a gram of product that's not in their system, they're going to be very upset about it. And of course, your license renewals are every year and are very expensive. So nobody steps out of line there, I wouldn't think. State-of-the-art security, it's state law that every place in your business is covered by camera footage. There's also state law you have to have over 30 days of backup to hold that camera footage. The state can come and pull that footage and look at it whenever they want to, which of course we're fine with. There's some of the specifics there. Again, I alluded to the delivery security. BioTrack is our point of sale system, and with that, the state's metric system integrates with it, and also the manifests we use to do our deliveries integrates with BioTrack, so it's all in-house, can all be easily looked over by state regulators when they need to see it. 24-hour lighting, of course, in and out, all that's. The background check system we use is the iChat backgrounds.
We all, we went above and beyond the iChat before we were state licensed because we weren't sure how strict they were going to be. But the iChat is a good check on all the employees, and we've had really good success hiring. And I'll hand it back over to Calvin here to talk a little bit more about the operations plan that we have. Thank you.
Sure. So this is a satellite view of the current property that we will potentially be building our provisioning center on top of, as you can see over there. Could you actually click on that play button for me, please? And you can scroll around. So this is a 3D rendering interactive model of our potential provisioning center. And our business is modeled after our location in Portage, and we project over $10 million in revenue per year, creating 20 to 30 jobs with living wages at $17.50 to $40 per hour. And we pride ourselves in giving all of our employees health care and 401k plans. And feel free to play around with this graphic after this presentation. Could you click next, please?
They got it together.
Concept art of some of the interior aesthetics that we potentially would be putting in our provisioning center. We pride ourselves in, again, creating an experience, something that the city of Manistee could be very proud of. Imagine having the apple of cannabis companies in this town. We use all high quality materials and displays. Here's a look at that. We also would love to create a community and education center at the provisioning center or at a nearby location to educate people on the uses of the medicine. Here's a look at some of our cultivation centers that we'd be using to service this retail location. Here's a look at our grow operations and some of our products.
Yeah.
Now I'd like to turn it over to Mike Martin to talk a little bit about our community involvement.
Kelvin, thank you for the opportunity to be here speaking in front of you guys. Again, my name is Mike Martin. I'm Director of Philanthropy and Community Outreach and Corporate Partnerships for Lake Effect LLC. I'm a Detroit native. I have family here in Manistee and in Traverse City. Growing up, I spent every summer coming up to this area and really love this area. I was a former captain of University of Michigan football, got the opportunity to play in the NFL for 5 years, and ended my career with Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. From that point, I earned my MBA, and I took my experience in the NFL and help people now with their finances as a financial advisor. So I work with players, I work with business owners, small business owners in Metro Detroit, and with that experience, I saw a lot. My teammates dealt with a lot when it comes to opioids and painkillers. It's kind of an environment that is very prevalent in the NFL, unfortunately. It's a painful sport. But this issue is not something that only NFL and professional players are dealing with. Family members of mine, friends of mine that I know have dealt with these issues, and I saw it personally with surgeries that I had, and playing 5 years was grueling. But this is a camp that I do, been doing it for 5 years now, have affected over 1,000 kids. We bring the kids to come to enjoy football, but the point is for them to leave better people. We talk to them about leadership, classroom success. We talk to the parents about how they can help their kids be more successful in school and in their communities as well. It's something I really enjoy, and we took this concept statewide. I did a tour with Fox Sports Detroit with a couple of friends of mine, Ron Rice, Lions legend, and Greg Jones, Michigan State graduate, Super Bowl winner as well with the Giants. But we went through Traverse City, went through Flint, Kalamazoo, all cities around the state, and did a lot of community interaction with Fox Sports Detroit, and it was a lot of fun. That type of essence is what we believe here with Lake Effect. With the position that I have, giving back to groups, the youth groups here in Manistee, would be really important and something that I love to do. That's in my DNA. We would love to give back to the police and fire departments, the Stomp Out Cancer Fund, DDA, things that are really important to this community and things that we would love to be a part of. On our advisory board, we have a friend of mine, Mike James. He got national exposure on CNN and Dr. Oz with Michigan graduate Sanjay Gupta, good friend of mine, local, went to Novi High School and university grad as well. But he's an expert in his field and has spoke about the benefits of cannabis. And Mike was the first NFL player to go for a temporary use exemption in the NFL. And there's been a lot of movement and progression in the NFL for that. So having people like this a part of our group that care about the community and about the product and about everything as a whole is really important in what we represent. So thank you for your time.
Good show.
Thank you, Mike. Again, back to me real quick on some of my advocacy. I've been the general manager of Lake Effect from day one. Being a Marine veteran, I've been diagnosed with PTSD. I do a lot of work with the VA. I do a lot of work one-on-one with veterans at the VFW on how to use cannabis for symptom management rather than opioids and things like that. And we've made a lot of great ground, and I can't wait to see some of the benefits of that when the VA is more accepting, as they will be in the future. As I said before, I'm a cancer survivor. That's really what lit the fire in me about this industry. I had never used cannabis in my life. I served in the Marines for 8 years. I never had the desire, was never around it. Started using it at the suggestion of friends when I was about halfway through chemotherapy. I did about 6 months of chemotherapy. And it was way better for me to get rid of the nausea, chronic pain, and sleeplessness, and bringing back my appetite than any pills that they were giving me at the hospital. I did a lot of my treatment at the West Michigan Cancer Center. There's hundreds of people in that cancer center doing chemo every day. And when I started realizing how effective this was for me to getting rid of the nausea right away, I was doing chemo 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I really got upset that it was being held back. Even the knowledge about it was being held back from everybody else in that cancer center. And I realized how far really this product could go and this industry can go, and that's really what motivated me to get involved in it. First, help my community. I live in Portage, raise the health and wellness in my community, and then go other places in the state and raise the health and wellness there. So again, thank you for the time. I'll hand it over now to our head cultivator, Aaron Cole, who's going to speak some more on some of the other amenities of our property.
Hi, I'm Aaron. I am the head cultivator and processor. I'm also in charge of holistic medical alternatives. We really do want to do the free educational seminars on site at our property. We'd like to start off inside the current building and then expand. We want to offer an opiate drug treatment program, yoga classes. If you have a healthy mind, you're going to have a healthy body. We really do consider our neighbors and the effect on our community. We sketched out how far we are to the closest house, and that's about 2,000 feet. The holistic approach is exactly what we want to do. As this gentleman raised the concern, we do not want these to be drugstores. Everyone in this room, the other 9 applicants, do not want drugstores. That's the last thing we want. We want to take people off the drugs with our medicine. And with the THC products and CBD products, and combining those, and making special formulations for people's ailments is what we're experts in. So whether you can't sleep, or you sleep too much, or you have PTSD, or you cannot eat, these are the things that we're trying to treat without prescription drugs. We do give financial assistance to our low-income patients. We give away hundreds of thousands of dollars of free medicine. Jevin was the creator of that. And we have our own CBD product lines, from tinctures to salves. This is one of our products right here. And this product right here took over 50 people that I personally know off of opiates. And you guys might think that's crazy and impossible, but it's the truth. I never thought you could rub a cream on your knees to take the pain away. And it is true. And every person that we've given this to has found medical benefits from it. We are really environmentally conscious. Any kind of plastic alternatives that we can have, we do. That's how the Lake Effect store is modeled. And that's about it. So I would like to open up the floor to anyone that has questions.
Any questions? Go ahead.
So you say at the stores that you have your provisioning centers already, so you grow your own product?
Correct.
So where do you get the seed for the product that you grow? From just back being in business?
Seeds or clones that come
Okay.
from other plant stocks.
And then
Just
just
like
ship?
if you're a tomato farmer.
Yeah, and then just ship them out to your provisioning, or dispensaries, right?
The plants are cultivated in the cultivation center,
Yeah,
and then they're processed in the processing center.
right,
From there, they're distributed to the provisionary center.
with the provisionary center.
There's a testing component in there too, but yeah.
Yeah, which what you're asking for is a provisionary center,
Correct.
sell to the public.
I'd like to know your hours of operations, how many people you plan to employ, and what kind of security do you have for
Yeah.
people not trying to get in to take stuff that you're growing?
Oh, sure. Well, there wouldn't be, a grow operation on this facility, but, speaking on the provisionary center, we do have a 24-hour security guard when we're in operation. Our business hours are typically 9 to 9, 7 days a week. We have, the whole place by state law has to be on camera. We employ between 20 and 30 people that make between $17 and $40 an hour.
Gee, yeah.
Um,
One of the key security components that I like to try to explain to people too is that when you walk into one of these provisioning centers that are state licensed, you're not walking in necessarily to a room where there's cannabis everywhere that you can just reach and grab something. You're walking into a small lobby, the front desk receptionist is gonna check you in. You're not gonna see cannabis in there. You're gonna see the menu, you're gonna see things like that. Then you'll go through another set of doors to get into the consultation room, where there'll be bud tenders and people there ready to talk to you about whatever your medical needs may be. So, make sure everything is in steps and regimented and a hard target, like I said. And the criminals that are left in this industry, they're really, in my experience, they're out in the country looking for pole barns to kick in. They're not looking for state licensed facilities that have 30 cameras that are constantly monitored with, facial recognition sometimes. And certainly we're close to town, so the police presence that there is gonna be nearby this area if there ever was to be needed one. So they're very, honestly, I have yet to hear of a licensed facility being broken into yet in the state.
This will be a 24-hour
I doubt we'd have a security guard on site 24/7.
But I mean, people working inside 20,
Oh, not at a provisioning center, no.
No, you wouldn't.
Our hours in Portage are 8 to 8. There's employees on staff 7, they get there at 7 a.m., some of them, and leave at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Now, is this gonna be replacing the building that's there or renovating the building that's there?
Renovation.
Gonna be what?
Renovation.
Okay.
I'm curious about how this delivery system works.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Deliveries. How does that work?
So here's how it works. You already you have to be a registered patient of us, number one, to be able to qualify for delivery. So to be a registered patient, you have to have come into our store. And when people come into our store, we scan their IDs as part and make their patient profile. By state law, you can only deliver to the address on their driver's license. So after they've came into the store one time, then they can call in and place a delivery order through our pre-order phone. And we have a manifest, and I can't remember the name of the manifest program, but it's one of the programs that integrates with BioTrack, which is our state mandated point of sale system. And so when we enter in, they call in the order and the customer says, oh, I want this lotion and this cartridge and this brownie or something like that. And we type that in. Of course, the customer's, a copy of their driver's license is in the system. When we hit the delivery icon in BioTrack, essentially, or for, if it's more than one person, it'll spit out a manifest that says, okay, your first stop needs to be here, it should take you this many minutes, the next stop should be here, it'll take you this many minutes. The driver, we have to print a copy of that piece of paper that has the license and card on it, and we staple that to the bag of medicine, which is also stapled closed, which is then put in a secure container in the vehicle, which is then padlocked. When the delivery is actually made, the delivery driver gets out, unpadlocks the secure storage tote, pulls that customer's order out, then brings that to the customer. The exchange is made there. And then the driver either continues on to his next delivery or he comes back to the store.
now, do they deliver strictly to that person or anyone that answers the door?
No, it'd have to be that person. We make them show ID when you deliver. We have body cameras on our drivers. We make sure it's all on camera, so that, there's no.
Is your
No ambiguity.
vehicle, has a logo, so?
Nope, it's just a nondescript vehicle. It's a Ford Escape, all-wheel drive, because we know the winter's coming.
Yeah, you'll need.
So no one else knows that you're coming to someone's house with cannabis?
No, they shouldn't.
Okay.
Just the person that ordered it. And we're very, privacy is obviously hugely important for our patients.
What percentage of your business is delivery? would you say?
Right now, probably just 2 or 3%. We're doing maybe 5 to 10 deliveries a day right now out of a total transaction amount of maybe 200 or so.
And delivery times are 9 to 9?
It's an hour after we open, so 9 to, and an hour before we close, because we have to have the driver back in the store by the time we close at 8 o'clock. So when we turn our point of sale system off, there's no outstanding transactions. So essentially our delivery hours at that store are 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Question mark, if I could?
Go ahead.
Now, you mentioned as far as delivery, brownies and marijuana, so am I understanding now these dispensaries are gonna be selling more than marijuana? Are you gonna be selling edibles?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, edibles are a hugely important component of the medical repertoire for cannabis patients. There's a lot of people out there, and the vast majority really, that don't want to take any sort of medicine by smoking it. You know, the most of our business is through concentrates. We have pills, tablets that are cannabis infused. You can make anything that you see in a pharmacy can be made with cannabis as well.
So what, as I understand it, then any of these pharmacy or dispensaries that we're asking are going to sell edibles and marijuana to smoke, or just marijuana?
Cannabis flower, and then edibles and concentrates come in many forms. Topicals.
Yeah, I know.
Smoking gives you the fastest relief within 15 minutes.
Typically.
Take an edible, it takes 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So it depends on what your relief needs to be.
Yeah.
Smoking it is the unhealthy part of our business.
Well, yeah, right.
So, you know, if we can try to formulate pills and get people off smoking, that's our goal.
Okay.
First, by vape pens.
So you're gonna be,
And I've consulted with tens of thousands of people, and this, you know, it's an interest, you know, it's really, our average patient age at Lake Effect, just to give you an idea, is 49 years old.
I believe it.
So, you know, people that have arthritis and things like that, you know, they don't obviously want the smell of smoke on them. It's, you know, a lot of people at that age don't want to smoke for a lot of good reasons.
Right.
They want to take a little bite of a brownie, a low dose or something. I mean, just because they're eating a brownie doesn't mean they're getting all crazy or something like that.
Right.
Their pain is going away, and they're able to function in their daily life and get on about their day without feeling all that pain, which is.
Well, I understand. I was just thinking marijuana, and you were showing pictures, and I'm thinking they're gonna be selling marijuana, this, you know, green marijuana. Then you mentioned the brownies, so now I can see a bottle of candy or a plate of brownies or marijuana, anything a person wants.
Yep, and there are candies available as well, and those are very good medications for people. That is, just to give you an idea, everything has to be in child-proof packaging, so no child could feasibly open it. You also can't have any label that would be attractive to a child in any way. No caricatures, no rainbow coloring or anything like that. So we're very. I have a 9 and a 5-year-old at home. I don't want them, you know, taking cannabis.
No. But it's been found. Kids in school. I mean,
100%.
yeah, I mean,
Kids get a hold of alcohol and everything else. I mean,
they don't know. They grab it. Okay. So now, already, I was not.
But that sale and the product itself, if it's still in the packaging, will be barcoded and have specific. It shows where it's manufactured and everything else.
Well, it'll have the element or amount of THC or
100%,
and everything on it.
There's dosing instructions and everything on the labels.
Yes, just like a prescription. Yeah.
Yep, exactly like that.
Yeah, understood.
I have a question, please. Can you please describe the site plan that we're here talking about? The land use, for example, what's in front of you is what was submitted. Can we talk about that, please?
Yeah, Calvin, you want to take over?
Sure. I might be able to do that a little better. So obviously we're using the existing building there. We're going to renovate the existing building. That's currently the whole place is a storage facility. And down on the lower place, there's a residence and a storage, which we would convert, renovate into the cannabis provisioning center. We would be adding a parking area at the front. For the people familiar with this town from way back, that's kind of where the house used to sit up on the highway. So we would add a parking lot there along with the rain gutters as well. Other than that, we're not doing a whole lot. It's got nice mature vegetation and landscape. It's currently an operating business that has been there for many years.
Questions?
Can you talk about what's around the parking area with regard to proposed anything else besides just parking? It seems like on the plan it has other things than parking. The the rain garden and things like that?
Yeah, so the crosshatch area around the parking is garden, so that new space that we add, the water will, obviously drain off into this new rain garden. We propose to put a monument sign, up kind of just in front of it there, off of the street a little ways, kind of up on the knoll, as well as adding in a loading and unloading zone on the right-hand side of the building there, in the handicap entrance right at the very front of the building.
Now, this plan doesn't have it, but would you be open to a widening of that, the entrance there? It's kind of, if you drive by there, it's kind of a hidden entrance. It's kind of a tight turn off of 31 at those speeds. Would you be opening to opening that up?
Obviously, we're open to work with the city in any way possible to, make it work out for everyone.
Yeah, it is kind of a crazy hill when you come over the hill and they're on a curve, you're there.
Yeah, but like I said, it is, yes, obviously that whole area is a little bit, but it does currently have a storage business on it, and it sees quite a bit of traffic daily.
Have you talked to anybody about connecting, going towards the hotel side?
So there currently is a connection to the hotel, there always has been. Because, Paul's family at one point owned the hotel as well, so that was all connected through there.
Right.
And people would always come in and out. If the hotel's not doing, we can leave that there. It just depends on what the hotel would want to do. On the opposite side, on the south side of us, there, where the boat place is, that's not a proposed cannabis location. So, I don't know how we would squeeze through there to get over to kind of the other area where everyone's in.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm just looking at that, and because that boat business is there, there really, at this point, isn't a shared access. But if they're,
Yeah, we're kind of one of the unique properties. There really isn't shared access, and we're kind of like hidden off the road a little bit, not quite as visually, out in the open as everyone. And the boat business, I think, has sold, but it's just vacant.
So where would your signage be put?
So where the new parking lot area is there, it'd be right out in front of there. It should be marked there, but it's got the little,
Okay.
kind of the little knoll, the little hill there,
All right, thank you.
back up off of the road.
Just some questions. The delivery vehicle, that's a company vehicle, correct?
Yes,
It's not like Pizza Hut or anything like that?
No, we purchased our own vehicle.
Okay.
That.
Cameras?
Yeah, there's cameras and GPS in the vehicle as well,
And,
and a body camera on the driver.
okay, and in the building itself, if, of course, they're gonna be electric, or the power goes out, are there battery backups to run the cameras?
There is battery backups. I don't know how long ours last, honestly, but I'm sure it's long, whatever the state required amount is. I mean, in Portage, we had a fire inspector go through. The state fire marshal actually comes through as well and checks not only your battery backups, but all your electrical outlets to make sure they're like 1363 ULC and all that. We could get a generator if is that an area that loses power pretty
Well,
continuously, or?
any place in town can lose
We could
power.
certainly put a generator in there if that's gonna be an issue.
I mean, just protect yourself.
Right.
It may be an idea for any of the applicants.
Yeah, that's true.
And then a question for Mr. Martin. You run the Gauntlet. Would you ever think about bringing it up here?
Of course, yeah.
I think,
We did Fox Sports, and we met with groups of people around the state, so it wasn't a full-blown gauntlet, but we did it a couple hours every day. But I would love to bring that up here. I have cousins that live up here in this area and family, so that would be something that would be a big joy to me.
And inviting the kids down to your camp, right?
Yeah,
As,
the camp, I did it 2 weeks ago at Detroit Catholic Central High School in Novi, and we had 200 kids come out and all their parents, so it was a really awesome turnout.
well, it'd be nice to have a U of M guy helping our kids out, because Drew Stanton, State helped the quarterbacks out, so.
Yeah, Drew's a good
You
friend
know.
of mine. I go to the
Okay.
golf out here with Drew,
Be
All right.
nicer to see a little more green.
Maize and blue. Maize and blue.
Oh, get started here. Let's go. Let's move on, Marco.
We'll stick with the Bulldogs.
All right. Any other questions?
I have one. Do your drivers handle cash?
They do handle cash, yes. We can also take debit card through a little square device that goes to the bank on an iPad. So, but yep, they do take cash. You know, that's one of those things. It's on camera, and hopefully nobody tries anything. Nobody has yet, and I don't anticipate they will. Like I said, anybody we deliver to, we have a copy of their address on file, so we would know where to send the police in a hurry.
Your employees go through a whole drug and
Yeah.
background check and everything?
Yep, they all go through iChat, background checks, and we do those. We go, the state law says you can't hire anybody with a drug misdemeanor within 5 years or drug felony within 10, or felony within 10 years.
Right.
You know, of course, we do the iChat for as long as far back as we can on the individual before we hire them. And just, you had some questions about hiring earlier.
Yeah.
We've done several job fairs in the southwest side of the state. The last one was just a couple weeks ago. We had 186 people show up to our last job fair. We would hold the same type of job fairs up here, preferably at some sort of community center or something like that. That people are aware, a building that people are aware of, and then just to let the community know that, hey, we're here to make this community better, to make our society in general better, and that starts with, you know, every single thing that we do, so.
Sounds like a good plan. Okay.
We'll,
What's that, Marco?
Good.
Yeah, we're good.
the staff has anything?
Yeah. Yep, the recommendations for 70 Arthur will be up in just a second. 74, excuse me.
74, yeah, Arthur Street.
So the recommendations for 74 Arthur, we just noted today that we recommend looking into opening the driveway as much as feasible, as much as possible. We think that's a contentious drive in the sense that it could be difficult going 40 miles an hour, not only to exit the property or enter, something to consider and recommend. Regarding the fire department stipulations, it's been noted with the previous applications that fire suppression system is required and necessary for these plans to be these special use permits to be granted, and the Department of Public Works has no other recommendations. So those are the recommendations. I will update this recommendation memo for the September 5th meeting so everyone is on the same page regarding what was just talked about.
Can I ask one more question?
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Some of the other applicants had secure rooms or security in the building. Are you gonna have that also?
Yes, we have to by state law.
You have, yeah.
All right, I just,
I'm sorry.
gotta ask that question, so,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah, they gotta have it, Marco.
Good?
Oh, good, oh, good, babe.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you
time,
very-
ladies and gentlemen, greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you, guys.
Okay, now I'll open the hearing for public comment. Anybody would like to comment, please approach the podium, name and address.
So,
You have 5 minutes.
74 Arthur Street.
Won't take that
74
long.
Street, yes.
Mike Herbert, 306 Hancock Street, Manistee. Something this presentation brought up that I've been hoping to see since this started fleshing out. They made mention of assistance to people in need. I would like to see these provisioning centers in the city, if at all possible. Give veterans with their issues a break. If it's within the cities, if it's possible, give them a tax break. If they're being taxed by the city, give them a break on that. Provisioning centers, you know, this is already being proposed, and I'd love to see that happen.
I'll just add something because it's public comment. We do offer our veterans free delivery and any handicapped patient as well, free delivery. Also seniors above 65, free delivery. In-store discounts of 10% for all three of those groups of people as well. So in-store discounts and free delivery.
Thank you.
Really?
Anyone else?
They won't think up next.
Dan Meisner, 165 Joslyn Cove Drive. And my neighbor in at my other home is Tom Moore, who was the offensive coordinator for the Colts during the Manning days, and then the assistant head coach for the Arizona Cardinals. So we have some of that too. And this one is right next door to that motel. That's walking distance. And to my point earlier, that's right across the street from our condo development. And I'm so worried about people making that a drug house, a drug destination, go stay in the low-cost motel, walk over and get their stuff. And one of the things that I saw on the PBS documentary about 3 nights ago is they talked about the oils and the edibles. And they said that the oils concentrations, in most cases in the edibles, are not documented. It doesn't show on the labeling what the concentration is. And some of the oils can have a THC concentration of almost 100%. And some of the things that affect people who take the edibles, they don't know what they're getting. This isn't the marijuana from the 70s. This stuff is much more potent. And then the oil is even more concentrated. And, you know, they carried on with interviewing the families of people who had died from overdosing, and talked about other people that had gone on that this was a gateway drug that took them to other drugs and ended up with fatalities. And I really beg you to consider all the consequences, not just what's good financially for the city, but what's really good for the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? No? Okay, we will close that hearing. It is 5 o'clock, and we will take a dinner break. We will reconvene at 6 p.m.
I want to quit. Hey.